Since the forward dive straight requires more rotation than either pike or tuck, most divers leave the board with a little more lean and a slight pike at the hips. The head and arm positions are the same. When the feet leave the board, the body is straightened and the arms move laterally to the set position at shoulder level and in line with the body, creating a T position prior to reaching the top of the dive. The head should be kept level throughout the dive. This position is held until after the diver begins to descend, when the arms are closed in a lateral path to the overhead stretch for the entry. Let's observe Wendy and Kent as they execute the forward dive series. The inward dives in pike and straight are performed the same as the forward dives. However, the takeoff is different. As in the inward dive tuck, it is essential that the center of balance be kept over the balls of the feet throughout the pressing movements. After passing through the preliminary takeoff position, as the body extends, a piking motion occurs by driving the hips up and back while holding the upper body as still as possible, with the head level and the eyes focused on the back of the board. This action moves the dive away from the board and develops the needed rotation to complete the dive. In the pike dive, after leaving the board, the body continues the pike action, and the eyes shift their focus to the entry point as the toes are touched at the top of the dive. Then the body opens as the arms move laterally to the entry position. The straight dive requires a quick body extension to the straight position as soon as possible after takeoff. When done correctly, this dive obviously feels over the board in the initial takeoff phase, because it is, even though the center of gravity is moving away from the board. It is important that as the arms move laterally from the reaching position to the T set position, the head is kept up and the eyes continue to focus on the back end of the board. Not until the top of the dive should the diver see the entry point. As the diver drops to the water, the arms close laterally for the entry. As you watch the inward dive in all three body positions, note the similarity of the takeoffs and balance over the board until the movements to start the dive take place. In pressing the board for the back dive pike, the balance needs to be slightly backward through the hips at the bottom of the press, as in the back dive tuck. The takeoff is executed with a complete extension of the body to a straight line at an angle a few degrees backward from vertical. The arms are straight, parallel, and stretched at the shoulder joint so they are overhead and in line with the body. The head is level but pressed forward for balance and control, and the eyes look straight ahead, waiting to see the legs come up into the pike. After leaving the board, the legs are lifted as the arms move forward to allow the hands to touch the feet just short of a vertical line and just before reaching the top of the dive. As this action takes place, the eyes focus on the feet and watch the hands and feet touch by keeping the head forward and looking up. The touch should occur with the shoulders in contact with the ears to ensure that the head does not tilt backward. After the touch, the body opens at the hip joint while the upper body is maintained in a hollow or concave shape. The arms move laterally and up toward shoulder level, and the head stays still. As the arms approach shoulder height, the body completes its opening to a straight line. The head is neutral, and a T position is assumed. As the drop to the water continues, the arms move overhead for the entry. The backward dive straight takes off with slightly more lean than the tuck and pike dives, and the diver may have an arch in the body. The arms are reaching overhead, and the head is level, with the eyes looking either straight ahead or upward. When the feet leave the board, the arms move laterally down to shoulder level and set in a T position prior to reaching the top of the dive. The head is kept in a neutral position, and the eyes look upward. The ideal is to hold this position motionless through the middle one-third of the dive. By this time, the body has rotated enough that the water is coming into view without moving the head back significantly. The arms then close laterally overhead for the entry. Take time to study the takeoff and mechanics of the backward dives. The technique of performing the reverse dive in pike and straight positions is the same as the backward dives. The difference occurs in the takeoff technique. To achieve proper distance, the hips must move upward and forward during the extension of the body after the press, causing an arched body shape. Because this movement away from the board reduces rotation compared to the backward takeoff, the diver may have to reach further behind the head and body line with the arms to achieve enough rotation. The key here for safety and good execution is to emphasize the movement of the hips up and forward rather than the upper body backward. It is important that the diver learn the back and reverse dives in the tuck and pike position first, before attempting them in the straight position, as this teaches the diver better control of the takeoff to keep a straight body line in the dives in the entry. Even though the forward dive with a half twist is not required as much in competition as in the past, it is still a dive used by many divers, and a dive which many find extremely difficult. After the press and body extension with the arms overhead, just like the forward dive straight, the lead arm begins a gradual move in the direction of the twist, followed by a turn of the shoulders and upper body. Just after leaving the board, the arms move laterally down to shoulder level, and the eyes continue to focus on the far side of the pool. The T arm position should be achieved at the top of the dive, and the speed of twist such that a quarter twist is completed. At this point, the eyes shift their focus and look down the bottom arm to the entry point. As As the legs rotate upward and the body completes the remaining quarter twist during the descent, the bottom arm is kept pointing at the entry, and the head rotates around the shoulder so the eyes can stay focused down that arm and on the entry point. The top arm remains still. This technique will cause the bottom arm to line up alongside and over the head, with the top arm still in a lateral shoulder-high location. At this point, the top arm is closed overhead laterally to finish the dive. The completion of this dive will have a definite 1-2 action of preparing for the entry. The basic foundation of good entries is a good straight body line. The arms can close for the entry a variety of different ways, as we will see, but the first method to learn is from a lateral position with the palms down to make grabbing the hands easier. As the arms are brought overhead, they are kept straight. The wrists are cocked back and the thumbs interlocked to form a firm, flat-handed position. The shoulders are stretched upward forcefully over the ears. The elbows are locked into place, and the head is kept level. The final entry position should have a straight line from feet to hands, and the hands flattened so a book could be balanced on them. Contact with the water is made so the impact is felt dead center in the palm of the lead hand. The entry stretch for the basic forward and inward dives is performed with a lateral path of the arms to the overhead stretching position. The body line is slightly curved with a stretch through the shoulder joint in the direction of rotation. This is to allow the diver to go with the flow of the dive rotation and to eliminate a recoil effect in the shoulder area on impact, which causes the body to move out of its alignment. The head is kept in a neutral position and the eyes look as close to the entry point on the water as possible. Lifting the head to see the entry point will cause an arch in the body on impact. Entry techniques for all dives can be practiced in a number of different ways from the 1 and 3 meter boards in drills which are called lineups. The simplest lineup drill is the standing open pike fall-in from the 1 and 3 meter boards. Since there is no spring and minimum rotation involved, the diver can control the entry easily and concentrate totally on alignment and good flat hand contact with the water. When skill in performing this drill is sufficient, a spring can be added, which more closely simulates the actual dive rotation. This also is done from the 3 and 1 meter levels. As a diver becomes adept at these entries, the same drill can be done in the inward direction from the 1 and 3 meter boards. The forward and inward dives tuck, shown earlier, are excellent exercises for practicing the basic entries. When performing the forward and inward optional dives, a more hollow body line and stretch through the shoulders is needed to account for the greater rotational speed at entry, which tends to throw the diver out of line and into an arch, causing a poor appearance and a lot of splash. To learn this hollow body shape, the forward hollow fall-in from the 3 meter board is an excellent training technique. The position desired at entry is assumed while standing on the end of the board, and this position is maintained throughout the fall-in. Watch Jenny as she does 2 hollow fall-ins. The first one, she does not hold the position during the entry, resulting in a change in body alignment and splash. The second attempt shows the correct intersection of the water and the proper hollow line for the optional dives. When this technique has been learned with the arms overhead at takeoff, the next step is to practice falling in with the arms lateral and moving to the entry position during the fall. Finally, practice the hollow lineup with the standing and springing open pike forward and inward drills shown earlier, and the forward and inward dives tuck from the 1 and 3 meter levels. Using a good forward entry with a lateral arm lineup for the basic dives as a foundation, you can now practice the 2 methods used in coming out of the forward and inward head-first entry optional dives. The first method is called the straight come-out. This simply means the arms and legs are extended simultaneously in a direct line from the tuck or pike position. The hands are grabbed for the entry as they pass head level. This technique is used when there is little time left at the completion of the dive to prepare for the entry. The second come-out method is termed the pike out. Here the diver straightens the legs while maintaining a pike at the hips. As the legs extend, the arms also straighten and are moved laterally to an open pike placement. From this position, the body extends to a straight line while the arms close laterally overhead for the entry. The open pike come-out is utilized when the dive is finished high enough to allow the movements to be completed in time for the entry. These techniques can be practiced in a variety of ways. The forward and inward dives tuck, shown before with the lateral come-out, can serve as useful exercises for both the straight and open pike optional come-outs. We saw the tuck roll-off from the 3-meter board earlier. Now here's the same drill for the pike position. This first roll-off allows the diver to get set in the pike-out position before performing the lineup and entry. When this skill is mastered, then the closed pike roll-off can be done. Here the open pike come-out is demonstrated. However, the straight come-out technique can also be practiced. Similar to the forward and inward dives, the back and reverse basic dive entries also line up with a lateral arm path, a slight curve in the body line, and a stretch through the shoulder joint in the direction of rotation. This again allows the entry to go with the flow of the dive rotation. The head remains level, with the eyes looking back as close to the entry point on the water as possible. If the head is tilted backward to see the actual entry spot, an undesirable amount of arch in the body line will result. To learn the first basic entry drill, the tuck roll-off, fold an exercise mat and place it on the 1-meter board. Sit backward in a tuck position. Rock backward, and as the hips leave the mat, stretch to a backward entry. This exercise is also effective with more advanced divers to teach them to get from the tuck position to the entry stretch quickly, as there is little time available. When this skill is learned, it can be performed from the 3-meter board. Here, Kent demonstrates the roll-off with a lateral come-out used in the basic dives.